Hey there, fellow trainers. Have you ever had an encounter and thought to yourself, should I catch or pass? Or perhaps you're merely wondering which encounters are the most desirable. Well, today, we're going to give you those answers as we review the various Pokemon that can be found as you journey through routes 7, 8, the gloomy Pokemon Tower, the bustling metropolis known as Celadon City, and last but not least, the Celadon Game Corner. First off, as we exit from Rock Tunnel onto the Lavender Town side of Route 10, we are met with a potent aroma. The scent of lavender incense fills the air as the smoke from the candles shrouds the town in an almost ephemeral purple hue, painting an almost otherworldly scene before us. The town has an almost tangible aura of gloom and death around it, the sadness of those long lost hanging over its residents. However, we must press on to the source of this gloomy atmosphere, the towering monument to the lives of Pokemon lost that casts a shadow over the town. This is Pokemon Tower. Within this 7-story high structure, we can find something unusual, the source of many a Pokemon urban legend. Our rival lingering on the 2nd floor of the tower. Now, we don't know why he's here other than to challenge us to a random battle once again, but many believe his presence here to be due to us killing his Raticate in our prior encounter on the SS Anne. But this is not why we're here. So let's press on further up the tower. On floor 3, we find the first signs alluding to the presence of Pokemon. Possessed mediums wander the tombstone-laden halls, searching for lost trainers to torment. Classic signs which signify the presence of Ghost-type Pokemon specifically. On all floors of the tower, we can find Gastly and Haunter in plentiful quantities, but the rarest encounter shows itself only on floors 5 to 7. On these higher floors, near the peak of the tower, we can occasionally encounter the rare Cubone, wandering the graveyard, crying out for its mother. But the question remains, are these worth catching? Well, let's start by taking a look at Gastly, as well as its evolved forms, Haunter and Gengar. Now, it should be noted that despite an in-game trainer stating that Psychic types fear Ghost and Bug types, due to an error in coding, Ghost types had no effect on Psychic types in Generation 1. Coincidentally, although no pure Ghost-type Pokemon existed at the time, the Ghost-type also had only one weakness in Generation 1, namely itself. Ghost-type Pokemon were weak to Ghost-type moves. But looking more directly at the Pokemon in question, we can see that they have exceptional speed and special stats, but mediocre physical stats. This would normally be detrimental, as all Ghost-type moves were considered physical moves at the time. However, the only Ghost-type attack move at the time was Lick, which was a waste of a move slot. Thus, this doesn't impact the viability of these Pokemon. They are arguably some of the best special sweepers you can get in Generation 1, and absolutely worth catching. Now let's take a look at the last fresh encounter of this grim locale, Cubone. Sadly, this Pokemon suffers from a lack of speed. Otherwise, it would be a superior choice to the alternative of Doug Trio. It boasts higher defensive stats and slightly stronger offensive stats, while being significantly slower than the alternative. So despite the intriguing lore and series behind this species of Pokemon, I have to say it's one I'd pass on. Perhaps you can find some niche use for it, similar to the case we had with Onix. But beyond that, I'd say there are better options out there. Now, we make our way back down the tower, through the ephemeral mist of Lavender Town, and onward to the grassy fields of Route 8. Bordering Lavender Town to the east, and Celadon City to the west, this route boasts a well-traveled pathway that winds around the grassy patches and hillsides that define its eastern and western regions respectively. However, if we make our way past the thicket of trees and bushes to enter the grassy fields at the heart of the eastern half of Route 8, we can find Pidgey, Pidgeotto, Abra, Kadabra, Jigglypuff, and Rattata. Sadly, no new encounters can be found here, but if you missed your chance at an Abra on Route 5 or 6, this is another opportunity to add it to your collection. So I wish the best of luck with that venture. We will, however, be making our way through the underground pass to Route 7. On this tiny outlet connecting Celadon City to Celadon City, we can also find the very same Pokemon we encountered on Route 8, with the exception of Kadabra. So once again, you will have a chance to add anything you missed to your roster while we're here. Making our way west, we'll find our way into the bustling metropolis known as Celadon City. Here, we can find various Pokemon, either through fishing in the local pond, venturing through the back door of one of its apartment complexes to receive a gift, or earning one as a prize from the Game Corner. In the local pond, we can find nothing but Goldeen for days. So instead, let's venture into the apartment complex, or condo. As we climb our way to the top, we'll pass by the developer's office, where you can get a certificate upon completion of the Pokédex. Once we reach the roof, however, we'll want to pay a visit to the lone resident up here. He'll gift us with an Eevee, a Pokemon of extreme value. Everyone has their favorite Eeveelution in Generation 1, be it Flareon, Vaporeon, or Jolteon. Personally, I consider only Vaporeon and Jolteon to be viable choices in Generation 1. Looking at their base stats, Vaporeon and Jolteon are the only ones with favorable stats for their typing. So I think it goes without saying that Flareon is disadvantaged in this regard. Making our way back downstairs, we'll venture to the game corner and play some slots until we've saved up a significant amount of coins. From here, we venture next door to the exchange center. Here, we can exchange our hard-won coins for various Pokemon, such as Vulpix, Wigglytuff, Abra, Cypher, Pinsir, and Porygon. Of these 6 Pokemon, we have 4 fresh encounters, namely Vulpix, Cypher, Pinsir, and Porygon. So let's start with Vulpix. Looking at the base stats of Vulpix alone, this seems to be a fairly lackluster Pokemon. However, upon exposure to a Firestone, it evolves into Ninetales. Now, Ninetales is a significantly more powerful Pokemon, and looking at its stats, you can see just how far improved they are in comparison to those of Vulpix. Its bulk is significantly bolstered, and its base special stat jumps from a mere 65 to a whopping 100. It also boasts impressive speed, being one of the faster fire types in the game, with a base speed stat of 100. Overall, it's a worthy addition to your roster, if you lack a strong fire-type Pokemon at the time. However, it's advised to wait on evolving Vulpix until it has learned the move Flamethrower, because, as with all stone evolutions, the evolved form Ninetales learns no moves via level up. Now, let's move on to Cypher and Pinsir, the 2 bug-type Pokemon powerhouses of Generation 1. Looking at their base stats, we can see where they differ. Pinsir is the slower of the 2, but boasts an increased base attack stat when compared to its more agile counterpart, Cypher. Pinsir also boasts increased defensive bulk to make up for its slightly slower pace. Cypher, on the other hand, abuses its speed and power to overwhelm enemies. This is noteworthy, as for whatever reason, in Generation 1, your critical hit chance was directly tied to the base speed stat. This is why slow Pokemon almost never landed critical hits, whilst speed demons such as Cypher or Alakazam landed them frequently. Both of these bug-type Pokemon are worthy additions and have their merits. But if I had to pick one, I would probably take Cypher more often than I would take Pinsir. This is, of course, a matter of personal preference, as both are perfectly viable choices, so choose your favorite, and let her rip. Last but not least, we have Porygon. Now, in Generation 1, Porygon was more of a novelty, merely worthy only for completion of the Pokédex or bragging rights. Because despite having a diverse move pool, it was marred by terrible base stats and no evolved forms to make the investment worthwhile. So overall, I'd say pass on this one. Get it to complete the Pokédex if you must, but don't bother investing in it. This Pokemon is quite literally digital garbage. Now, if you have any strategies, tips, or ideas relating to any of the encounters thus far that I didn't mention, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Your input is always welcome here. And with that, we're all out of time for today. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more exciting content. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.